Hello, welcome to Keep Britain Biking with Devitt Insurance. This week we're trying out the 2019 BMW F850GS Adventure. We've had it for about a week now and we've had some good fun on it actually. The new F850 came out last year, the 2018 model range, and they put a new engine in it. The old F800 and F700 models, they had an engine with quite a clever sort of balance shaft arrangement. It was like a third conrod in between the sort of main proper conrods, if you like, and it used to wobble up and down, and that balanced out the pistons going up and down. Quite a clever system, and I'm a bit sorry to say they've moved away from it here and got to something a bit more standard, if you like, just a kind of normal parallel twin with a normal balance shaft setup. More capacity, it's an 853cc twin now, and more power than before as well. 95 horsepower just about on this, which is a lot of power. I remember when 95 horsepower was enough to, I don't know, win you British superbike races, possibly, there or thereabouts. So, new engine, and last year the new F850GS came out with lots of a tech update, a styling update, just a new bike all over pretty much. And now for 2019 we've got this, which is the Adventure version. As you know, when BMW makes an Adventure version, it means it's a bit fancier, a bit bigger, a bit more serious, a bit more capable. So you get more fuel, bigger fuel tank. This has got a 23 litre fuel tank, which is up 8 litres I think on the standard model, so you can go and have big long adventures for weeks and weeks on end, whether you like it or not. I like big fuel tanks because I'm very lazy and don't like stopping at petrol stations for petrol. And it stops you buying Mars bars as well, which is a useful thing, a useful sort of byproduct. So F850GS Adventure, bigger tank, taller, sort of longer travel suspensions for dealing with bumps, basically, having more travel, and having a higher chassis gives you more ground clearance as well, so two benefits there. Bodywork's different as well. You've got more sort of wind and weather protection, sort of more wider bodywork here. It looks very serious actually. It doesn't look like a sort of middleweight at all. From certain angles it looks sort of just as big as the 1250 almost. Those aluminium engine bars are on there again just to give you a bit more protection when you drop the thing in the middle of Mongolia. It's not going to smash itself to smithereens. And then we've got a sports rack on the back as well. And that's kind of the sort of basic sort of upgrades on the standard model. The bike we've got here is BMW fancier again. They've added quite a lot of accessories to it and sort of factory fit upgrades, if you like. So we've got the electronic suspension, which is useful in a bike like this, definitely, just because, you know, long travel, you want the suspension to be soft enough for bumps and riding off road, but when you go on the road you don't want it all sagging and wobbling about, so we want it to tighten up a bit. Meow, cat's here. Meow, meow. So electronic suspension might sound like something a bit fancy, but it makes a lot of sense on this type of bike. We've also got the colour dash on here, which is a lovely thing actually. BMW's been putting it on all their bikes recently, the past year and a half, 2 years, and it's got a connectivity built into it, and it's got a handy controller wheel on the twist grip, so very easy to access, lots of information on there, and just a very useful sort of assistant when you're on longer trips. We've got heated grips, we've got an SOS button in case it all goes very wrong. You can press a button and a BMW Chinook comes and rescues you. I think that's what happens anyway. Kinda. This bike's had an upgrade to the rider aids as well. It's got fancier pro versions of the ABS and the traction control, so it's an IMU based unit, so a bit more sophisticated and advanced there. It's got keyless ignition, again BMW's putting that on lots of bikes, and I'm coming round to it. The past couple of years I've been riding more and more bikes with it, and you've got to adjust your old brain to adapt to it, haven't you? And it's pretty good. You don't need the key for the fuel cap as well, which is an innovation. I'm a bit worried about it, but because there doesn't seem to be a backup emergency keyhole. So if it goes wrong, how do you get in to put fuel in if there's a problem? Don't know. I was confused the first time I stopped with it as well, because if you leave the ignition on, it won't open. So it took me a few minutes and a bit of a kind of panicky search on the internet to work that one out. So ignition off when you want to open the fuel cap. We've also got a tyre pressure monitoring system on here, useful. Again, you know, it's just one of those things when you don't think you need it, but once you start using it, you start to rely on it a little bit. It'd be good if you wanted to let some pressure out the tyres for off-road riding, and then sort of want to pump them up again later for on the road. We've got pannier rails on here. There's a quick shifter, which isn't that great, but we'll come back to it. And we've got fog lights as well. So I think if you add up all the add-ons on this bike, it's getting towards 15 grand, which is a lot of money for a motorbike, isn't it? So that's the spec, that's the rundown on this bike, and I've had some good fun on it actually. Past week or so we've done some bit of motorway miles coming back from BMW down in Farnborough. Around about town, sort of picking kids up, going shopping, visiting friends, all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit big for sort of real, sort of hardcore, sort of cutting through traffic. If you're in the middle of a really serious jam, it's a bit wide here, but you know you'll get through most things sort of easily enough. If you add panniers, it might be a different story. First thing is, it's a nice place to be with this bike. It's because obviously £15,000 gets you a lot of luxury and a lot of toys, very well appointed. You know, you've got that dash you spoke about. There's a optional sort of sat nav added on here as well. Useful. You know, I use my phone all the time for stuff like that, but it just makes it feel a bit more sort of capable and ready to take on anything. On the motorway, you know, you just sort of sit, cruise at 80, 90, you know, and you're fine. The big tank will take you a long way. Comfortable seat, not too tall for me. I'm quite stumpy, and I'm probably just on the limit in terms of height, in terms of the seat. But there's lower seat options, and there's lowering options for this bike as well. In terms of the engine, as we said before, 95 horsepower. There's a lot of power, isn't it? So I think my first car had about half of that, maybe a third of it. And it sounds a bit spoiled to say you could do a bit more, but sometimes you could. Sometimes on the motorway, it's at a bigger speed. You know, if you want to do an overtake, you get there, but it's just missing a little bit of that urge that if you're used to a 1200 GS, say, or one of the Ducati Multistrada or something like that, you notice the shift down. It's on par with the competition. You know, Honda Africa Twin, Tiger 800. You know, they've all got that sort of 90-95 horsepower sort of output. It's a heavy bike. You know, if you look at the spec sheet, I think it's 244 kilos of curb weight, which is chunky, and it's only about 5 kilos less than a standard 1250 GS. A lot of that's down to the extra fuel, of course. If you didn't put as much fuel in, there'd be less difference. But I noticed that when we did a tiny bit off-road, and we just went on one of the local byways just for you know, 15-20 minutes up and down, just to check it out. And I'm by no means decent off-road, you know, I'm very much a novice in that area. And you know, the tall suspension's good. You know, we've got Bridgestone A41 tyres on, which are more road than off-road, to be fair. You know, it was okay, but as soon as things got a bit tricky, you just felt the weight, and you know, it's a bit top heavy. And there was one bit where I had to turn round on quite a steep hill, and it was like, oh, this is going to be fiddly and tricky and difficult. And so, I mean, 95 horsepower, 245 kilos, you don't want to be going to Fox Hills motocross track with that, do you? No is the answer. The other thing that caught my attention a bit was the brakes. We've got they're very off-road style, but we've got up front, we've got a pair of Brembo twin piston floating calipers, sliding calipers, floating calipers. You know, the ones, 2 pistons on one side, and it sort of pulls the other side of the caliper onto the far side of the disc. It's sort of quite small discs as well, so if you start going through it on the road, you know, you might find that the brakes are not what you were hoping for. Yeah, I mean, the Africa Twin has got, you know, 2 radial 4-piston calipers up front, and it's got every much an off-road bias as this bike does, so it's a bit of a surprise. I'm not sure sort of why they made that decision to sort of go for the sort of lower spec brakes. The weight counts against the brakes as well, you know. There's sort of quite sort of small discs and those twin piston calipers with 245 kilos plus 90 kilos a rider. add another 90 kilos of pillion if you're carrying someone, and you know, you can see there's a lot of work being done there. Only other criticism I'd have is the gear shift. Gear shift's a bit stiff, and the quick shifter isn't that good either. I found it may be one of those things where it beds in. I think this bike's done 500-600 miles. It's quite a new bike still. So you know, it might get better. Adjusting the lever might help as well. We've got adjustable levers and foot pegs and sort of bar levers on this bike. So if it was your bike and you had a bit of time to sort of customise it to suit you, it might be better. We spoke about the competition a bit earlier. There's some strong competitors. Africa Twin looks a bit flashier, the Africa Twin. So it's same power and torque just about. It's a tiny bit lighter, unless you go for the Adventure Sport version, which I suppose you would comparing with this. Slightly more of an off-road bias to its performance, I think, the Africa Twin. The other choice is the Triumph Tiger 800, and that's a really good bike, and it comes in about 6 different versions. You can have more touring, more road bias, more off-road bias if you like. I really like the Tiger 800. The engine I think is amazing. It's actually got less power and torque than this, but when you're riding it, it feels sharper. I don't know why that is. Maybe down to the weight. I think it's a tiny bit lighter. Again, comparing with this Adventure version with the bigger tank. As it is though, if you fancy the BMW GS and the 1250 experience is just a bit too much, this is definitely an option. It's almost on par with the 1250. A good bit less in terms of power and size, but you can get all the toys that you would have in the 1250. Almost all of them are available on here. A bit cheaper to run, you know, a bit less power, and definitely a sensible option to look at if you're in that market.